It's time for an inside look at what's cooking on the San Diego Padres hot stove as the team gets ready for the 2025 season.
Swing and a miss. Padres win.
Sam Levitt breaks down the Padres offseason moves and provides an in-depth look at everything you need to know before the Padres take the field for spring training.
Swinging a high fly ball. Deep left center. This one way back and gone.
Plus the latest headlines from around Major League Baseball and analysis of what's happening around the big leagues.
Breaking news out of baseball.
Welcome to Inside San Diego Baseball with the Padres Radio Network's pre- and post-game host, Sam Levitt.
We are live on a Wednesday night from Peoria, Arizona, inside San Diego Baseball. Sam Levitt with you from the Airbnb here in Glendale, Arizona, about 15 minutes away from the Padres spring training complex. Great to have you with us on this Wednesday night as we talk all things Padres baseball. It has been a very, very busy first week of Padres spring training. A lot of good stuff to talk about. If you followed the station over the course of the last week, if you followed our social media, you've certainly heard me a lot. You've certainly heard a lot of the audio we've got from inside the clubhouse. You've certainly seen a lot of video on social media, a lot of news in the last week. You might remember a week ago, the Nick Pivetta signing came down just minutes before we went on the air. So a lot of good stuff. It's been a wonderful first week here at Padres spring training, and we will get to a little bit of everything here tonight up until 9 p.m. We are with you from Arizona, about 15 minutes away from Padres spring training. Everything good here at the Airbnb. Doing my laundry and washing the dishes and getting breakfast food and everything you got to do day to day. I will say these days in Peoria, as I know they are very long. Not quite as long as they're going to be yet, because once the games start on Friday, Padres take on the Mariners on Friday. If you missed it, right-hander Ryan Bergert, prospects will make the start on Friday at the Peoria Sports Complex. But once those games begin, it gets a whole lot more busy. So the days are long, but it's a lot of fun, great energy around the complex, and we'll talk about a little bit of everything here today, kind of give you a roundup, if you will, of what's been going on here at Padres spring training. We will hear from a number of different players. Now, some of this audio you may have heard on shows over the course of the last few days, the last week. You may have missed some of this. We haven't played all of this. You might have seen it on social media, but we'll kind of round up everything and in between get to some different aspects of this first week of spring training. We will hear from Luis Arraez, Mike Shildt, Jake Cronenworth, Xander Bogaerts, Ethan Salas, Manny Machado, Jackson Merrill, Michael King, and Ron Marinaccio. Hopefully we have time for everybody. If we don't, I apologize in advance, but we will hear from all those different gentlemen, and we'll cover some different aspects of what the Padres have going on right now in Peoria. We will also take your phone calls, as always, 833-288-0973, 833-288-0973, phone number to call if you want to get involved. We will get to your phone calls as the program rolls along on this Wednesday night until at 9 p.m. We've got Frank Marchese back in our San Diego studios, holding things down, getting us on the air. Frank will chime in from time to time as well. Well, a question I got asked earlier today on Ben and Woods was about the general vibe of this spring training for the Padres. And this is my third spring training, full spring training here in Peoria. And it's been interesting in a couple of ways. I think it, to this point, has been the quietest first week or so of spring training I've experienced. If you remember in 2023, it was Juan Soto there in his first full season with the Padres. It was Blake Snell, Josh Hader. The Padres were coming off beating the Dodgers in the NLDS. Just sky-high expectations heading into 2023. We don't need to rehash how 2023 actually went. But at the time at spring training, the expectations were this team was as good as anybody to go win a World Series. Obviously, the season itself played out quite differently than what we anticipated. But from an attention standpoint, a media standpoint, a headline standpoint, it was just different than what this year has been, than really what last year was. I mean, that was the year where Manny Machado, signs the extension during spring training, makes some comments the first day of spring training when he arrived. So a lot of headlines, a lot of buzz, a lot of media attention in 2023. Then last year, a little bit different, right? We had some headlines baseball-wise. Xander Bogaerts going to second base, and also just coming off what was such a disappointing 2023. A lot of focus on what 2024 would be, and there were more headlines. I think the Bogaerts headline was right there as far as things we were focused on from the outset of spring training, certainly competition for some different spots. Remember, when spring training started last year, a lot of questions about what the roster would look like. Maybe, I think at this point you could say even more so, arguably, than what this year presents right now. And I'll get into this year's roster in a moment because I've been writing stuff down the last hour or so, getting my thoughts in order, and I've got some thoughts on this 26-man roster, where things stand right now. We'll get to it later. But, last year it was different. There were headlines, and I think the focus was on how this team, they were going to bounce back after what happened in 2023. And then I bring you to this year. And this has been a quiet spring training. No major news items or headlines or controversies. And you look around baseball, you've got Rafael Devers in Boston saying he's not going to play anywhere else other than third base. You've got Marcus Stroman in New York showing up late to spring training. There are other headlines all over the place, controversies. But here in Peoria, there really has not been a whole lot. And I say that in a positive way. It has been business as usual. And the word that keeps sticking out to me when it comes to this spring training in particular, what I feel, the vibe I get from being here, from talking to players, the word that keeps coming to mind is continuity. And what I mean by that is there has been a lot of attention over the course of the last couple of months on what the Padres aren't, on what they haven't done, on what they don't have. This is a different team. There is no Jurickson Profar. There is no Ha-Sung Kim. There is no Donovan Solano. There is no David Peralta, and a couple of other names you could throw in that mix as well. Guys who were contributors to a 93-win team last year that are no longer with the San Diego Padres. But even with that said, if you really boil it down, there's a lot of continuity to this group. There really is. There's continuity in your rotation. Your top three, Darvish, King, Cease, they're all here, once again, with a pretty good idea of what you're going to get from those three if they can all stay healthy. As far as your bullpen, this bullpen, and we'll get a little bit more into it later, but this bullpen, I believe, especially if Robert Suarez ends up being a part of it, I believe has the potential to not just be one of, if not the best in baseball, but the Padres have real depth. You look at this bullpen, an 8-man bullpen coming out of spring training on the opening day roster, I will tell you right now, I think there are 7 spots that are pretty much nearly locked up. And a lot of quality in those 7 names, leaving one spot for, I've calculated, 4 guys, and that's not including some of the real younger guys that haven't made their major league debuts yet. When I take a look at that bullpen and the depth, and again, we'll get more into the names later, it is talented, it is experienced, and it is very deep. It is very, very deep. And in 2025, having that quality of bullpen, I think, can do wonders for your baseball team. Now, the part of this roster where there's also a lot of continuity, but there are more question marks, probably the biggest question mark of any group, starting pitching, relief pitching, position players, is the lineup, is the position players. But even with that said, even though I calculate there are essentially 3 spots out of the 13 position players that are really up in the air at this point, let me read you the names, and I'm not going to surprise you here, but again, we're talking about continuity. the names that are here. Machado, Bogaerts, Cronenworth, Arraez, Merrill, Wade, Tatis. You want to throw Luis Diaz in that mix? You can do that too. Was here at the end of the year in 2024. There's continuity with the players, with the core. There's continuity with the coaching staff and the manager, Mike Shildt, back for his second season. A coaching staff that is nearly identical. There has not been nearly as many questions this spring to Mike Shildt about culture, about team identity, about setting the tone. You know why we haven't asked him much about it? Because the tone's been set. We saw the way this team not only played, not only won last year, but the way they came together, the way they fought back in games, the way they had a true identity that did not exist in 2023. So to me, even putting aside the way last season ended, and the ending wasn't pretty, we all understand that. To me, the vibe I get is that this is a team that has continuity. This is a team that, despite subtractions, is very confident in the group they have. Believes that the group they have here can win them a lot of games, can get them to the postseason. I don't say that as lip service to you, listening, watching right now. I believe that's what this group truly looks around the room and thinks. And this may be a little, spring training, rah-rah, drinking the Kool-Aid type thing on my part, and I'll be the first to admit, when you are around a spring training complex every day, vibes are great. Vibes are high. It is easy to see the optimism in everything. It is true. Spring training is the most optimistic baseball place in the universe. I could be at Miami Marlins spring training right now. You might find me saying they're going to win the World Series. I could be over at Salt River Fields, over at Rockies spring training. Who knows? I might be saying the Rockies are going to win the NL West, okay? That's the way spring training is. But I do think this team believes that they've got enough there, truly looks around the room, and does not focus on the subtractions, does not focus on what the Padres haven't done, but is more focused on what they do have. So we'll see. We're going to see how this season begins. We're going to see how the rest of spring training goes. We've got a long way to go. We'll get a little bit more into this in our next segment when we hear from Luis Arraez, because I think he really spelled it out well earlier today. And I think he's a prime example of what I'm about to say. If continuity is one word I would use to describe the feeling I have about this team, at least here on February 19th, spring training, health is the other word that I think is really, really critical. And I bring up the word health because there are a number of players that simply were not very healthy last year that are entering this camp. Manny Machado, a fantastic example. Remember, Manny was coming off the elbow surgery a year ago, was not playing third base, was not throwing, did not start the year playing third base. It was a progression to get him back there. Well, Manny is feeling as good as he's felt in a long time. He said he's 100% entering spring training, and this has been the first time, well, certainly since last year, where he can say he had a totally normal offseason, and he feels great, and he looks great. He does. Xander Bogaerts, we know the injury issues he had last year, the freak shoulder injury, nothing he could do about that. But why do I bring up the word health with Xander Bogaerts? Well, Xander's having a very different spring training, and maybe the most normal spring training he's ever had in a Padre uniform. The first year he was here, first year with the organization, comes into a clubhouse where it is a World Series or bust type of reputation. I think inside the building and also from the outside looking in. Xander stepped into that, into a brand new organization, brand new team. That's far from a normal spring training for a guy that had been with the Boston Red Sox as long as he had been in Boston. You think about last year, everything that happens with the position switch, learning second base, Not getting total confirmation based on what we know that was going to happen until he showed up at spring training. Again, not a normal spring training. And physically on Xander, it clearly, and this is not dealing with the freak injury he had, but it clearly took a toll and was different for his body and was a factor in the start to his season. I mean, I believe that based on, what he said, how he felt, and, look, it is hard to do what he was asked to do last year, go over and play second base. It really, really is. And now, when he enters this year, where is he? He's at the spot where he's been his entire career, aside from last year. He's extremely comfortable as a shortstop, and he feels great. He said as much earlier in the week. So Xander feels great. He's back at his natural position. To me, this is the most normal spring training Xander Bogaerts has ever had. And then you have Luis Arraez, who had surgery to repair that torn ligament on his thumb, left thumb, I believe it was. Was it left thumb? Did I tweet that out earlier? I can't remember down my head. I'll get to it next segment. On one of his thumbs. It's already 8:16 p.m. here. Got to go to sleep. But Luis Arraez, and we'll talk more about it after the break, he is somebody who I don't think we acknowledged or realized how much pain he was in last year, what he had to play through, and how incredible it was that this man won another batting title while playing with a significant injury for a significant portion of the season. So with that said, let's step aside. When we come back, we'll hear from Luis Arraez. I thought he had some really, really good things to say earlier today inside the Padres clubhouse. Again, we're going to bounce around to some different audio from players today. I've been working my tail off here in Peoria the last week to get audio, so guess what? We're going to put it all to good use over the course of the next hour and 45 minutes or so. It's Inside San Diego Baseball on a Wednesday night. We are taking you up until 9 p.m. right here on San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan. Inside San Diego baseball on this Wednesday night here on San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan. Sam Levitt with you from Peoria, Arizona. We are at Padres spring training, a week into spring training. It's been a great week of hard work and hustling around the Padres complex, but a lot of good stuff, so much great video, so many great interviews with Padres players. Thought we had a really good first segment talking about the vibe at Padres spring training, and the two words that I used to describe that vibe, to describe what's been standing out to me, what were those two words? Do you remember? One was continuity, and the other word was health. So let's talk a little bit more about that second word, health. And by the way, we will take your phone calls throughout the program, 833-288-0973, 833-288-0973. The phone number to call if you want to get involved. We will talk anything Padres related that you would like to discuss. But when we talk about that word health, maybe the most important player that we can reference, that we can discuss, is Luis Arraez, who spoke with the media earlier today inside the Padres clubhouse. And Luis is a great guy, upbeat, seemed to be in great spirits. And the most important part, even beyond that, for Luis Arraez, is the fact that he's healthy. Luis Arraez, remember, had the torn ligament in his thumb, played with it for a good part of last season, months and months of last season. Luis Arraez tearing that ligament in his thumb. I told you I would tell you which ligament it was. It was the left thumb. Had to confirm it by my tweets. Left thumb, he had surgery on it to repair that torn ligament in mid-October. And before we get to what's gone on this offseason for Luis, I mean, you have to acknowledge and I think understand how much pain he was in. And we'll hear from him in a moment. And what it took for him to accomplish what he did, which was win another batting title. I mean, this was unbelievable from Luis Arraez. And after that injury, we probably, if you were a Padres fan, did not see the best of Luis Arraez, which is incredible because the guy continued to hit, continued to get on base, and went on to win another batting title. It speaks volumes as to the type of player, the type of pure hitter that Luis Arraez is. Luis is healthy. He had surgery on that left thumb in mid-October. He had a different offseason. Typically spends his offseason working hard and swinging a bat. You would expect that, right, for his quality of hitter. But this was different. He did not swing a bat, he told me today, until late January. So what did Luis and his wife do? In the meantime, they took a vacation. They went to Paris in December. Luis is not a guy who takes a lot of vacations. He's working hard even in the off season. They have kids. But Luis and his wife went to Paris. They came back. Luis started swinging a bat in late October or late January. And I asked Luis when he said that, because I said, wow, that's only a few weeks ago, late January. I said, are you ready? Are you 100%? And he looked at me square in the eyes and he said, I'm ready. So I believe Luis Arraez is ready to go here on February 19th, despite this being a very different offseason for Arraez because of that left thumb surgery. Luis Arraez talked with the media and myself inside the Padres clubhouse earlier today in Peoria. Here was Luis discussing how much pain he was in last season, battling that thumb injury, his thoughts on playing first base every day, great answer there, and also being named in some trade rumors this offseason, despite wanting to remain a San Diego Padre.
You and Manny Machado and Tatis, Bogaerts, you guys have all talked about being healthy. How big could it be to have you guys first four hitters in that lineup if you're all healthy to start the season?
Yeah, it's a good question because we work hard for that. You know, when I saw Manny and Bogey move pretty good, I said, wow, if we're healthy, it's a lot of things got problem with us when they fail us.
How much pain were you in last season trying to battle through that thumb injury, and how difficult did that make it for you?
A lot, but I try to put my mind strong and I say, hey, no pain, no games. So I don't want to put excuse, but that was a lot. So I just use my mind, my body, and then thanks God, I win another batting title, and then for my team too, and then the team support me, if I saw Manny bend down, Bogey bend down, everybody bend down here, and then we win a lot of games like that. So this year is another year, and then we focus on that.
I mean, how much confidence does that give you? You're saying you're in a lot of pain and you win a third straight batting title. It's gotta feel pretty good.
I trust myself. I work hard for that, and then I prepare my mind to play every day.
It sounds like you're going to be the everyday first baseman, a regular first baseman. Are you excited about that?
Yeah, I'm not at first base. I'm not at the age. I play second base, you know. But if in my child say, hey, you come play first base, I'll be there, you know. I'm a teammate. I want to play every day. If I see my name in the lineup, I'll be excited and happy.
You made it clear in the season that you wanted to remain a San Diego Padre. You're tired of being traded. Did it bother you to see some of the trade rumors that surrounded your name and some of your teammates during this offseason?
I don't pay attention about that. It's a lot of people talk about my train. He go to the Yankees, he go to the Lions, the Texas, whatever they want to do with me. They can talk about train, but I'm still here. I got this beautiful uniform. I support this uniform, and then I feel good here. So I'm here to play baseball and then try to win the World Series.
How much fun did you have last year playing in front of the fans at Petco Park?
It's amazing. Like when I saw Petco Park full every day, I said, wow, we need to do something good for them.
What answers from Luis Arraez across the board? And by the way, the answer after A.J. Casville asked him about being the regular first baseman, Luis said essentially, hey, I'm a second baseman, not a first baseman, I'm not a DH, but I want to be in the lineup every day. I'm a good teammate, and he's doing what a good teammate does. He's playing first base, he's playing where the Padres ask him to play, where they need him to play. And I feel like we should send that answer to Boston Red Sox fans, because if you missed that over the course of the last couple of days, all the drama with Rafael Devers, Alex Bregman, the idea of Bregman playing third base, Devers being a DH, maybe going to first base, and Devers has essentially said, no, I'm not going to do that. So what a different mindset from Luis Arraez. Terrific answers there across the board. You heard the last question there, the question about the trade rumors during the offseason. And I think no doubt, and we knew this last year, you could see it in the way Luis talked about the team, talked about Petco Park. He enjoys being a San Diego Padre. He really, really does. And even with all those trade rumors, he's back in Peoria in a Padres uniform, and he's healthy. You heard a good chunk of it there. He's healthy. And I'll say it again, 3 straight batting titles, last year the third of which came when the guy was simply not healthy, was in a ton of pain, was doing a lot just to get those swings off, and still was very effective. So I think as a Padres fan, it has to make you exceptionally excited to have a healthy Luis Arraez, and makes you dream about what he could do in this lineup with the power that surrounds him. Let's get a little bit deeper into that situation last year with Arraez. Here was Padres manager Mike Shildt earlier today talking about the impact of Luis's thumb injury and what to expect from him this year when he's finally healthy.
Luis Arraez, last season, didn't want to talk much about his thumb, but now that he's here, he said he kind of maybe adjusted his swing a little bit to account for getting jammed and the way it felt then. He also says he feels healthy now. What do you think that can do for his swing going into the season?
I don't think, including myself, any of us were aware. I mean, I was aware, but how he won a batting title without basically a thumb the last 6 weeks was beyond impressive. We knew he limited his work to accommodate being able to get off his swings during the game. But even his best swing, or he caught it off the end, or he caught it a different certain place, I mean, it really, really was bothersome for him to still mentally to compete with that kind of physical ailment and compete well and still lead us into the playoffs. Very, very impressive. A lot of respect for Louis, similar to Toddy, guys playing on a stress in his leg, basically a broken leg, and makes an all-star team. That's the kind of toughness and competitive spirit that great teams have. So just really impressive. And now he looks healthy, and watch out.
Yeah, watch out indeed. It's going to be a lot of fun watching Luis Arraez fully healthy, and with his attitude and his personality and his mindset, he's a true joy inside that clubhouse, extremely well liked inside that clubhouse. Feels like sky's the limit for Luis Arraez and what he could accomplish in 2025. So great to hear from Luis today. I thought he was awesome. I thought he was in great spirits, and he's just a good guy to have. That's what we heard about him when the Padres made the trade with Miami last season. Not only the player, the hitter that Luis is, the numbers are obvious, the batting titles are obvious, but the guy, the person. I mean, personally, I heard from people with the Marlins that, yeah, you got a great player, but you got a better person. And the Padres have a bunch of guys who fit that bill around their clubhouse right now. You heard Mike Shildt mention Fernando Tatis Jr. as part of that health conversation. And I'll tell you what, that's a name that I didn't bring up in the opening segment when I was talking about that key word of health, whether we're talking about Manny or Xander or Luis Arraez. But important to remember that Fernando Tatis Jr. is certainly in that category as well. An offseason to heal that stress fracture in his leg. Looks great, looks healthy, swing looks great, and hopefully Fernando can stay healthy throughout the upcoming season. Phone number to call, 833-288-0973. Again, 833-288-0973. If you want to get involved on this Wednesday night, we are taking you up until 9 p.m. And when we come back, we'll talk about some of the outside noise the Padres have had to deal with this offseason, how they've reacted to that outside noise. We'll hear from Jay Cronenworth. We'll hear from Michael King, and we've got much, much more to do on a Wednesday night. It's Inside San Diego Baseball on San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan. We are live from Peoria, Arizona, Padres spring training inside San Diego baseball on this Wednesday night. Sam Levitt with you as we take you up until 9 p.m. talking all things Padres as our coverage from Peoria continues. I am here for the next 5.5 weeks now, all the way up until March 25th, each and every day, covering each and every aspect of Padres spring training. We've got Frank Marchese back inside our San Diego studios. We'll check in with Frank at the top of the hour. I know many of you have missed Frank's voice, so we'll get to Frank at the very top of the hour. Phone number to call if you want to get involved, as always, 833-288-0973. Again, the phone number, 833-288-0973. If you want to talk Padres, that is your two-way sports talk line, if you will. It's a little Christopher Mad Dog Russo reference there. Frank will appreciate that back in the studio. Anyway, before we get to some of the audio we have queued up here, and I teased it before the break, how the Padres have dealt with some of the outside noise, some of the things that they're perceived to not have done as far as, adding a tremendous amount of payroll, and some of the guys they've lost, Jerks and Profar, Ha-Sung Kim, Donovan Solano, David Peralta, key contributors to a 93-win team in 2024. We'll get to that audio coming up in just a little bit. I did want to take you a little bit through my afternoon today because it was a unique afternoon for me in a couple of different ways. Number one, I watched something that I've never watched now in 3 spring trainings in Peoria, and that was a live BP in the actual stadium of Peoria Sports Complex. Yu Darvish threw a live BP today. I thought he looked great. I had a great view of it right behind home plate. I had Ruben Niebla a couple of seats away from me. Right behind home plate, I could see those off-speed pitches breaking, could see the movement, could see the fastball creeping up on the hitters. It was great. And he faced a number of minor leaguers on the stadium field, on the stadium mound at the Peoria Sports Complex today. And from my vantage point, and I'm no pitching guru, as you know, Yu Darvish looked great. And it was great to see him out there and throwing well. And from my vantage point, was the first time that I'd ever seen a live BP inside that stadium. And Mike Shildt talked about it a little bit earlier in the day before Yu took the mound. It was something they wanted to do to get it a little bit more of a game feel than a live BP on the backfields. And it makes sense to me. It did feel a little bit different, a little bigger being on the field, being in the stadium, even though it was just myself and some of the Padres coaches and some media members there watching, but it felt a little different than throwing on field 7 on the backfields. It did. So Yu Darvish looked great, and that was a lot of fun to watch Yu in that setting, and we'll see when Yu Darvish makes his Cactus League debut. Obviously a veteran, obviously whatever he needs to get ready, I'm sure he will do to get ready for the upcoming season. But the really, really interesting thing that we saw during that live BP, and I don't know if we've talked about this on any of our Wednesday night shows. They've certainly talked about it the last couple of days here on the station on some of the various shows. The new automatic ball strikes challenge system that has been used in the minor leagues. But for the first time, major leaguers will get the opportunity to use it during spring training games this year. And to be clear, this is not something that's going to be introduced during the regular season at all. But Major League Baseball is trying out this ABS challenge system in spring training games starting, well, I'd have to see. Is that tomorrow is I think the Dodgers and the Cubs play a spring training game tomorrow. I don't know if it's going to be used in that one, but I do know that it will be available on Friday in Peoria when the Padres and Mariners play. Most of the stadiums have it, will utilize it, but not all of them. And off the top of my head, I don't know if, and I don't even know where that game is between the Dodgers and the Cubs without looking. Who cares? Anyway, it's going to be used on Friday in Peoria. And we got our first taste of it during Darvish's live BP today. They had it running, and it was a casual challenge, if you will, from the hitters. For example, I can't remember which minor league hitter was at the plate, but first time we saw it, Darvish makes a pitch. It was called a strike. And then you could tell the hitter was a little unsure, and wondering if he should do it. And some of the coaches yelled out from the stands, challenge it, because I think we all wanted to see it. And keep in mind, this is just a live BP. The stakes are not all that incredibly high from a results standpoint. And lo and behold, they flashed up on the video board in left center field in Peoria the replay of the ball, and this is animated, but a ball leaving the mound, heading towards home plate. The camera angle, quote unquote, even though, again, it's animated, spins around to show you home plate. And you could see the ball landing just outside the strike zone, a ball. So called the strike initially and reversed to a ball. The call was overturned, and we even had somebody, and I don't know if this is the guy who's actually going to do it on Friday, we even had somebody on a microphone saying, the call has been overturned, and that was a real live person. I saw him. Then we saw that a couple more times, and I will say that's the first time I've ever seen it. I know a lot of people in the minor leagues have seen it for a couple of years now. I've heard very good reviews about it from broadcasters, from minor league players, and even though I got just a little taste of it today, I'm a fan. Now, I got to see it more, and I want to see it during a normal game and see how quickly it happens. I have not made my full judgment yet, but to this point, I'm a fan. Today, it worked great. The challenge was made, a tap on the head by either the hitter or the catcher. Within, I would say, 5 to 8 seconds, that animation was on the board. And I would say within about 10 to 12 seconds, we had the call. And I think all the calls went against Darvish today. They were called strikes and reversed to balls. I don't even know if they actually did it on the field and had the guy go back and continue the at-bat. It was really for the fun of it, if you will, to see how it worked, get maybe, Darvish a little bit used to it, or the Padres a little bit used to it so they could see it. But it was pretty cool. And I'll also say this, the other two aspects of it that I liked, other than it being relatively quick today, number one, it's a way to get more calls right, but also keep the human element in, which I like. And it's also something that adds a little entertainment value to the game. I'll tell you what, when you're watching that pitch on the animation, and you know what I liken it to? If you ever watch tennis and there's a challenge on an in or out call, and you see the ball head towards the line, and you can see whether it missed the line, whether it got just a little sliver of the white line, it's very similar to that, just baseball. Think about it that way. It creates a little drama. You're literally looking up at the video board watching, okay, is that ball going to get in the strike zone? No. Or, oh, just clipped it. It was cool. I think it will be a very cool in-stadium experience and a very cool TV experience, depending on how they do it. In fact, I was having a conversation today that on the TV broadcast, if you have the strike zone box, which pretty much every major league broadcast has now, that could hypothetically give it away if somebody were to challenge. So if we do have the ABS challenge system, would we see TV broadcasts actually go away from using that strike zone box from the center field camera? I don't know the answer to that, but it was a conversation I had a little bit later in the day, and it was interesting to think about. So I thought it was cool. You'll certainly see it at times during spring training. I'm sure we'll see it maybe even on Friday. You might see it on the games you watch. I know they have the streams on Padres.com along with our radio broadcast here on 97.3 The Fan. So it's going to be really, really interesting. And I'm intrigued by it. I really am. I've heard very good things about it for a couple of years now. And, Major League Baseball, I'll say this and wrap it up. Major League Baseball typically doesn't do this kind of stuff unless they're very serious about implementing it soon. So if you see it work at spring training this year and everybody's happy with it, I would put a very high likelihood on this being in the major leagues sooner rather than later. Not this year, but look out for it in 2026 and beyond, for sure. All right, let's get back to the Padres. Obviously, a lot of outside noise about the Padres this offseason. About what they haven't done, a quiet offseason, certainly until the last week and a half when they had the Hayward signing and the Joe signing and the Nick Pivetta signing. But it's no secret. It's been quiet. It's no secret that they're missing a Profar. They're missing a Ha-Sung Kim. They're missing a David Peralta. They're missing a Donovan Solano. Some of the pieces that made the Padres in 2024. Here was a guy that we love to hear from, Jake Cronenworth, on that outside noise this offseason, including some of the trade rumors that have swirled at times even around Jake's name and what Jake Cronenworth wants to work on this spring.
Like so much of the offseason from the outside was about what other teams did, not what the Padres did or didn't do. Rather, just do you guys hear that noise and do you guys care about it?
I think if you ask anybody in this clubhouse, they're very confident with the group that we have in here. I'm sure that's been a lot of guys, and we have a lot of returners. We have some new faces that are going to help us win, and it's going to be a fun year.
What things are you particularly working on this spring and just looking forward to as you get into the spring?
Yeah, I always come into spring with, kind of the same goals, and to get ready for opening day. But I work my butt off in the off season, looking to improve every facet of my game, whether it's at the plate or base running or in the field, and getting stronger and faster. So that was a really, really good off season.
We heard a lot of talk around the batting cages, guys saying we're not getting ready for the season, we're getting better. What's the difference?
No, I think there's a fine line of that because you do want to get ready for the season, but I agree with that. I think us as a group, we know who we are now. There's a lot of the same guys returning, and I think as a group, we're looking to get better as a group. And what can we learn more about each other? What can we learn new about each other? How can we improve our team defense or even our team offense, and continue to grow and improve all that.
Can you see that happening day by day and rep by rep, or is it something that you kind of notice over time?
Yeah, no, I think you can see both. I think, you take each individual day as its own, and you go out there with the mindset that, today we need to get better at whatever we're working on. I think today is cuts and relays. So, let's do the best cuts and relays we possibly can as a team and get better at that. And then tomorrow might be first and thirds. The next day might be pickoffs, whatever it is. And, and then you got your own individual stuff where, Bogey and I will be working up the middle every day and trying to be the best double play turners and, have the best chemistry and communication every day.
Look at Jake Cronenworth knowing his schedule. In fact, the Padres did work later on cuts and relays shortly after Jake spoke. So good job by Jake Cronenworth. Always good to see those guys practicing cuts and relays. It really is. And they do a great job. The coaches do. They hit balls into the corner, into the gap, and then they work on relays to third and home. And, hey, it's something that's starting on Friday. They'll certainly have to do from time to time, right? Relays. You never know when all that practice will pay off in the biggest of moments. You get a big out at home plate, save a run, something like that. Let's hear a little bit more from Jake Cronenworth from earlier today. He was asked his thoughts on so many Padres players being involved in trade rumors this past winter, the signing of Jason Hayward, and the impact of Manny Machado and Fernando Tatis Jr., the impact on those guys being healthy this year.
A lot of trade rumors follow this team during the offseason. Was it a bit of a relief to walk into this clubhouse and see a lot of pretty much the same familiar faces here?
Yeah. No, I feel like that's us every offseason. Yeah, you guys know how AJ is. And, but no, I think it's great. We have such an awesome group. And I think you can interview anybody in here and hopes that everybody stays, and because it is such a close group. But no, it's great to see everybody.
How about the guy next to you, Jason Hayward? What does he bring to this team?
Yeah, I've been fortunate enough to know Jason for a long time now. This was actually the first year we didn't hit together in the off season over the last 4 years. So he opened up his own facility. So, but no, we've known each other for a long time. What an incredible person off the field, and fortunate enough to be able to play with him on the field now.
And both Fernando and Manny have talked about health-wise being some of the best they have in years. How potentially big is that for this team?
Yeah, I feel like everybody's coming very healthy, which is huge. And I think for us to get off on the right foot for spring training, and everybody's feeling their best. There might be a little flu bug going around, but it's awesome.
You've obviously bounced around the diamond position-wise. What's it going to mean to kind of have some stability of position, and what's it going to be like to work with Bogey again?
Yeah, no, I think, not just for me. I talked about it at FanFest, for him as well. Us up the middle. We found out fairly early in the offseason where we could prepare and, train a specific way to prepare ourselves for that. And, now we have spring training where him and I can go out every day and work together and build that chemistry.
That was Jake Cronenworth. Very good stuff from Jake earlier today inside the Padres clubhouse. The newly married Jake Cronenworth. So congratulations to Jake, who got married during the offseason. How about Michael King? This kind of falls in line with what Jake was talking about. Here was Padres starting pitcher Michael King on what he wants the mindset of this team to be, and if he and his teammates care about all that outside noise we've been talking about around the team the past few months.
First full squad workout, this typically tends to be the day where you get some different speeches, sort of set the tone for spring training and the season as a whole. Considering what this team did a year ago, how close you were, what do you personally want the mindset of this group to be as a whole?
Honestly, it's got to be similar to last year. I still think that we were one of two teams that could have won the World Series last year, and that Dodger series was definitely a tough one to swallow. But we still got a bunch of our core group of guys, and we're all hungry to come back in. And then adding guys that have some time out on the mound where he's an ultimate competitor. I had a different word in my head there, but he's definitely a dog. And so we're adding some guys that we definitely think can complement our rotation and our team, and hopefully have another successful season.
Kind of to that point, Michael, so much of the offseason was made about what the Padres didn't do and what other teams did do. Do you guys hear that outside noise? And if so, do you guys care?
I mean, of course you hear it. It's easy to get caught up in it, and then you come in. I honestly was asked a similar question last year because Soto got traded, and Soto's one of the best players in baseball. And it's like you still come into this locker room and you look around, and it's Manny, it's Bogaerts, it's Darvish, it's Cease, I know Musgrove's not pitching. It's like you got all of these huge names, and not only now you're adding Jackson Merrill and these young guys that are going to help you out. So it's still an incredible locker room, and you take a minute to actually look at this and say we got a World Series caliber team, so that's all we're going to go for.
Feels like the top four of that rotation looks pretty set, but that fifth spot, how excited are you to see that competition for it with Hart and Waldron and Vasquez and those guys?
Yeah, I mean, you saw flashes of it last year. Waldron had a stretch of he's one of the best pitchers in baseball. Vasquez has shown flashes start to start of being unbelievable, really good stuff, and then Hart comes over as the Korean Cy Young. It's like there's a lot of good competition, healthy competition. I know we're going to get however many starts we need out of them. It's going to be successful.
Very good stuff from Michael King earlier this week inside the Padres clubhouse, and certainly when you talk about what the Padres could do in 2025, Michael King could be a big reason why they win a lot of games. My opinion about Michael King, I think, has the stuff of a future Cy Young Award winner. His second full season as a starting pitcher. Incredibly excited to see what Michael King does this upcoming year. You heard Michael King mention Matt Waldron there during that answer. And I bring up Matt Waldron not only because Waldron is so clearly competing for that fifth and final rotation spot, along with Kyle Hart, along with Randy Vasquez, along with Johnny Burrito. You could put Stephen Kolek in the mix as well. But one question that I think is a very legitimate question for the Padres, if Matt Waldron makes the team, but not even that. Let's say Matt Waldron starts the year at AAA. You would put pretty good chance on. We know starting pitching, you need to dip down into that depth, right? We see it every year. Put a pretty good probability on Matt Waldron having to come up and pitch, which means the Padres are going to need somebody, some catcher, to catch that very hard to catch knuckleball. And I bring it up because in our second hour, we will hear from one of the guys that caught that knuckleball during the first week of spring training, and that is the very young but very talented Ethan Salas. I thought Ethan was terrific inside the Padres clubhouse earlier this week, so we'll hear from Ethan Salas about catching that knuckleball, his relationship with Leo Dallas DeVries, and much, much more. We've got a great second hour coming up. We'll hear from the young Salas. We'll hear from Padres shortstop Xander Bogaerts. We'll hear from Ron Marinaccio, Padres reliever, who has a very good chance to make the team. Very talented, very good numbers with the New York Yankees for a few years. And we'll hear from the third baseman, Manny Machado. So we have an excellent hour number 2 coming up for you here on 97.3 The Fan. And in our next segment, I will go down the 26-man roster the way I see it right now. Who is guaranteed a spot and what question marks here 1 week in spring training remain. We will talk about all that and more in hour number 2 of Inside San Diego Baseball. On a Wednesday night, you're listening to San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan. We'll be back in just a little bit. deep left center. This one way back and gone.
Plus the latest headlines from around Major League Baseball and analysis of what's happening around the big leagues.
Breaking news out of baseball.
Welcome to Inside San Diego Baseball with the Padres Radio Network's pre- and post-game host, Sam Levitt.
Hour number 2 of Inside San Diego Baseball on this Wednesday night. Sam Levitt with you from Arizona, the site of Padres spring training. We are 1 week into spring training. Cactus League games begin on Friday as we continue to preview this Padres season, getting to all different aspects and elements of this 2025 ball club. I will say the open there says before the Padres hit the field for spring training. I think we got to update it because now we're at spring training and they're about to hit the field for the Cactus League opener on Friday against the Mariners. And by the way, you can hear that game right here on 97.3 The Fan at noon on Friday. Jesse Agler, Tony Gwynn Jr. will be on the air noon on Friday, the Cactus League opener as we begin the Cactus League season. The Padres aiming for a Cactus League title. Just kidding. Nobody cares about the Cactus League title. But, hey, you want to win the games. You'd rather win them than lose them. Now, in spring training, the primary goal, everybody stay healthy and get to opening day A-OK. Phone number to call, as always, 833-288-0973, 833-288-0973, the phone number to call if you want to get involved, talk anything Padres related here on this Wednesday night. We've got 1 hour left in the program, taking you up until 9 p.m. Of course, there are other ways to get involved. You can watch us on YouTube, on the 97.3 The Fan YouTube channel. You can get involved on the YouTube chat, and we're always monitoring the YouTube chat, so we'll look at that in a little bit, see if we have any interesting comments to address. You can also tweet at me at SammyLev, SammyLev. Instagram DM's open as well, Sammy Lev there too. TikTok at Sammy Levitt. Send me a DM, and I may just address your question here on the air. I always get this question when our spring training radio broadcasts start, and that is, do I do pre- and post-game for spring training games? And the answer to that is no. There is no pre- and post-game for spring training games, thank goodness. Oh, my goodness, if they would ask me to do pre- and post-game for a spring training game, that would be ludicrous. No, the games don't count unless you're a Cactus League super fanatic. But, yeah, no pre- and post-game for spring training. But opening day against the Atlanta Braves, I'll be with you for pregame and postgame as usual. I will tell you that one guy that will be involved with our spring training radio broadcasts is the guy back in the studio right now, and that is Frank Marchese, holding things down in our San Diego studios, getting us on the air here tonight. Frank will be on the board, I'm sure, for many of those spring training radio broadcasts. And Frank, are you ready for Cactus League radio action? Are you prepared? Have you been practicing the sliding of the dials, the turning of the knobs, all the pressure that a Dave Marcus puts on you to get things done correctly? Are you ready for Friday?
Yeah. I've been moving your microphone down, so that's been fun. I've also been sleeping with recorded Dave yelling in my ear, so I can get used to that again. It's going to be a lot of fun getting to talk to Jesse again. I've seen Tony here a couple times, but I haven't seen Jesse since the end of the year. So it's going to be fun to get to mess with those guys during the breaks and stuff.
Well, I would imagine Dave Marcus, now I don't know if Dave is here yet. I would imagine he's going to be here at least tomorrow, so I may see him tomorrow. Now, of course, Jesse has been here, so I've seen Jesse quite a bit. Tony, I'm sure I'll see tomorrow. Bob Scanlon is here. I've seen Bob. I saw Don and Mud. I think I told this story. Did I tell this story on our first show from spring training a week ago? I don't know that I told it on this show. I did tell it on Ben and Woods. But very quickly, how about this? So I get in my car from OB, new apartment in OB, head out to spring training, get through Mission Valley. I'm heading out towards Alpine, and a tradition of mine has become, when I head out to spring training, I stop at Cafe Adesso and say hello to
Mrs. Musgrove at Cafe Adesso, who, by the way, was there once again. Every time I go on this specific day when I head out to spring training, I see Mrs. Musgrove, who was incredibly nice and friendly. And I got my coffee at Cafe Adesso. And as I pull up to the drive-through window at Cafe Adesso in Alpine, who do I see? None other than Mark Grant there, getting his coffee. Mud lives in Alpine.
Yes.
Gets his coffee. I'm like, Mud, what are you doing here? He's like, come here every morning. So they take a photo of Mud and I, ends up on social media. And the funny part of it, not only did I run into Mud on my way out to spring training, is that the photo on social media, people were asking me, is Mud working at Cafe Adesso? Was he your barista? I mean, is this like his off-season job now? And the answer to that is no. Mud is just a customer that enjoys his coffee from Cafe Adesso. But shout out to Cafe Adesso in Alpine. Delicious coffee and great to stop there on my way to spring training where I did run into Mud. Mary Lou's, I think, will be here in the next day or two, so look forward to seeing Mary Lou's. And it's always good to catch up with everybody. So we're just getting rolling here at spring training, a week in, but good to see everybody and catch up this time of year.
You've also got to congratulate Don Orsillo, something we didn't mention the last hour.
Yes.
Don Orsillo is going to be here a very long time, from what I've heard.
Yes. You know what? From all the news that has come out during spring training, I think I said in the opening segment that it's been a relatively quiet spring training by the last few years' standard. Well, maybe the biggest news that we've had is Don Orsillo, CEO Eric Greupner, announcing yesterday a long-term contract extension for Don, who will be in the San Diego Padres TV booth, play-by-play, for many, many years to come. Don was on Ben and Woods earlier today, so if you want to hear from Don Orsillo, the great Don Orsillo, you can do that by going to the Odyssey app, going to any of your favorite podcast platforms, or, of course, you can go on YouTube. I know they posted on the Ben and Woods channel Don's interview separately, so you can very easily go find Don Orsillo's interview. Don is a tremendous broadcaster, tremendous guy, has been incredibly nice to me, and I'm super, super glad that Don's going to be around for many, many years to come, and I know that all Padres fans are very glad as well by Padres fans. So great news, and again, a big congratulations to Don. So very, very good stuff as we kind of take a turn back into baseball here. We will hear from Xander Bogaerts in this segment, and we will hear from Ethan Salas and Manny Machado in this hour as well. So one thing I was doing in the last couple of hours before I got on the air, for the first time this spring, and I really should have done it first day of spring, maybe even a couple of days before spring training began, I took a look at the entire 26-man roster, and I said, okay, who are the locks, and how many open spots are there really? So let's go through it position group by position group. And it'll crystallize for you like it crystallized for me a little while ago. Starting pitching, pretty easy. You got Darvish, King, Cease, Pivetta. That's 4. You've got a question mark at 5. We've said the names already. 4 out of 5 spots. You know what they are. You got 1 open spot there. The bullpen. I would argue that 7 of the 8 available bullpen spots you can pretty much lock in. I'm not saying there's a guarantee, but I'm saying I'm pretty sure that these guys are going to be in the bullpen right now. And we'll talk a little bit more about the bullpen in a second because it's really interesting. The 7 names out of the 8 spots, Robert Suarez, Jason Adam, Jeremiah Estrada, Adrian Morejon, Yuki Matsui, Brian Hoeing, Wandy Peralta, 7 of your 8. To me, again, crazy things happen. Injuries happen. Hopefully they don't happen to any of those guys, knock on wood. But to me, those 7 guys are pretty much locks, in my opinion. 7 out of the 8. It leaves 1 open spot. We'll get to the bullpen again in a moment. Position players. This is where there are the most openings and the most question marks. 13 position player spots on the 26-man active roster. In my opinion, 10 of those spots are pretty much locked in. Some of the names are obvious. Manny, Bogey,
Cronenworth, Arraez, Merrill, Tatis, Wade, Hayward, Joe, Elias Diaz. Those are 10 names out of the 13 spots. So what makes up the rest of the 13? Well, that's a really good question, and that's where I think it is wide open. You could tell me that Tirso Ornelas is part of that 13. You could tell me that Gavin Sheets is part of that 13. You could tell me that Luis Campusano is part of that 13. You could tell me that Brett Sullivan's part of that 13. You could tell me that Martin Maldonado is part of that 13. You could tell me that Mike Brosseau is part of that 13. You could tell me that Eggy Rosario is part of that group. You get my drift? A lot of names, and I don't know. I don't know out of all those who's getting those 3 spots. Right now, I don't know. And I don't know that the Padres have an idea as well, and that's what this spring training is for, to sort that out. So, when you put it all together, out of the 26-man, there are essentially, in my mind right now, 5 open spots. The 5th starter, 1 bullpen spot, and 3 position player spots. Now, I do want to focus on the bullpen for a second, because it is, and I alluded to this earlier, it is remarkable some of the names that are going to get left off this opening day roster in this bullpen. Now, I'm not even including some of the younger guys that are really impressive, like a Francis Pena, like an Omar Cruz, some of the younger prospect types. I'm not even putting them in this conversation because to me, they belong in a different category. But I put together 11 names that I think are I guess you could say, tier 1 of Padres relievers in the organization right now. Those 11 names include the 7 that I mentioned, the 7 locks. Suarez, Adam, Estrada, Morejon, Matsui, Hoeing, and Peralta. Those are the 7 locks. The other names, Sean Reynolds, Ron Marinaccio, Alec Jacob, Tom Cosgrove. And I'll tell you what, on a lot of other teams, those 4 other names that are outside the 7, they're making a big league bullpen. But this bullpen group is deep. It is a good problem to have. I do not know out of that grouping who has a leg up. Sean Reynolds was great when he got opportunities last year. Alec Jacob, for the most part, was great, and he's funky, right? The sidearm delivery, he's different, which you like. Tom Cosgrove, I know had a tough year last year, but Tom was also really, really good in 23, and I've not given up on Tom Cosgrove as a guy who can contribute to this bullpen, and based on what he did in 23, that, for me, is why he's in the tier 1 of this group. And then you have Ron Marinaccio, who I talked to a few days ago. I don't know that we're going to get to his sound here tonight. Maybe we'll save it for next week. You look at Ron Marinaccio's numbers with the Yankees, whether it was the big leagues or AAA, very, very good. Very, very good. So I think Ron's got a real shot to take that final spot. I do. Those are, in my mind, 4 pretty quality names competing for one spot. Now, again, it's a good problem to have because we know with the way baseball works, you're going to need depth in a bullpen in particular, whether it be for performance, whether it be for fresh arms at different times of the year, whether it be for injury. You will need a deep bullpen. And again, I'm not even including the more prospect types, which the Padres are really high on. Guys like Francis Pena, who I liked in the backfields earlier this week. Guys like Omar Cruz, not even including them. To me, whoever makes that 8th spot, there will be 3 on the outside looking in all likelihood of that group. But they're going to have 3 guys right there that you like, ready to be called up. That's great. That's very important for a team and for a bullpen. So that's the way I see this roster. And I know we said we'd hear from Xander in this segment. We'll get to him in our next segment. Ran out of time. Frank and I were rambling too much in the first in the first few minutes of this hour. Sorry about that. But that's the way I view this roster right now. You have 5 spots open. 1 starter, 1 reliever, 3 position players. And we'll see how they all get filled. It is impossible to know here on February 19th before we even play a Cactus League game. There are arguments even right now for and against some of these guys. Is it Yuli Gurriel, who just got signed, who will turn 41 this season? Is he going to be one of those guys? I don't know. He's got a shot. Is Tirso Ornelas going to finally get his big league call-up? I don't know. He's got a shot. It is the beauty of spring training. It's the beauty of competition. And it's part of why I'm here, so we can document it and talk about it throughout the course of the next month or so. We'll step aside. When we come back, we'll hear from Xander Bogaerts. We're going to get to a lot of audio. Xander, Ethan Salas, Manny Machado. For sure, those 3 names you will hear from during the rest of this hour. You're listening to Inside San Diego Baseball on a Wednesday night up until 9 p.m. on San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan. .819 here on 97.3 The Fan on this Wednesday night. Sam Levitt with you from Arizona. Padres spring training. It is Inside San Diego Baseball. We are on the air until 9 p.m. Phone number to call 833-288-0973. Again, 833-288-0973. If you want to get involved on the program, talk anything Padres related. We have talked about a lot. We did our full 26-man roster breakdown in our opening segment of this hour. Like I told you, I see it. There are 5 open spots right now on this Padres roster. 3 position players, one reliever, one starting pitcher. Now, hey, I could be wrong. One of those relievers may not be a lock the way I see it, but I look at it. I just, Suarez, Adam, Estrada, Morahone, Matsui. I mean, I just don't see any way Hoeing and Peralta are out in this bullpen on opening day. I don't see it. So I think those guys, Reynolds, Jacob, Marinaccio. Who else did I say? There was a fourth guy, Marinaccio, Jacob, Reynolds, Cosgrove. Competing for one spot, in my mind. And look, pretty good chance, we know with the way these things work, with reality, that you're going to see a lot of these guys over the course of the year, but to me, they're competing for one spot. So keep an eye. That is going to be a very intense competition for that one spot. Well, one guy we know is going to be on this team. His name is Xander Bogaerts. He will be the starting shortstop for the Padres, but that is a very different scenario than he found himself in a year ago when he came to spring training and he found out he was going to second base. Xander Bogaerts spoke earlier this week inside the Padres clubhouse on knowing he'd returned to shortstop, how that impacted his offseason and his mindset entering this 2025 spring training.
This time last year, things were a little bit different. You were getting ready to learn second base. Now you're back at shortstop, your natural position where you've been for a long time. How did that impact both your offseason and I suppose your mindset entering this spring?
I mean, I played shortstop so long, as a kid in the big leagues for a long time, so it's just more natural, Second base, I had to learn on the fly. It was a little bit tough in the beginning. Throughout the season, it was a little tough. My body's getting used to different angles and different motions, and I had to adjust to that. It wasn't the easiest thing, but I was up for it, and as I said, I tried my best, I think I actually did a pretty good job over there defensively. You can always be better, but I actually think I did pretty good. So hopefully I can go back at short and be myself.
Is it nice to have that kind of off your plate, having to learn a new spot as you begin to start a new season?
I think it makes it a little bit easier on my body, just going back at short. I haven't had any issues physically. Thankfully, over there at short since I'm back. So hopefully it continues. As I said, I just probably didn't have enough time to learn second base last year. If I would have had the offseason, it would have been different, but learning it in spring training, learning on the fly, I think my body was just a little bit not adjusted to it as quickly as we would have wanted, but we managed it. We went through it, and we had a really good year as a team last year. Individually, I definitely could have been better, but this year is a new year.
That was Xander Bogaerts, and look, Xander said all the right things there. I thought he said all the right things a year ago when he had to move to second base. I'll read between the lines a little bit from what Xander said earlier this week. I think he likes being back at shortstop. It's a really good thing for him. I think it's comfortable. I think it's comfortable for him physically. I think Xander being at shortstop is a really good thing for him and this team. There's a level of comfort there, and you hope, fingers crossed, that Xander stays healthy throughout the year, which he hasn't done the last couple of years. And you hope that he is the best version of himself that we see for an extended period, for a season, the Xander Bogaerts of the Boston Red Sox. And I hope that moving back to short, the comfort level, the physical comfort he has at short, plays a role in that starting on opening day. Let's hear a little bit more from Xander Bogaerts. Here was Xander on the signing of his former Red Sox teammate, Nick Pivetta, if he believes the team's star players have pressure to produce, with the team not making any splashy moves this offseason, and how Xander is feeling physically.
Some new teammates, what do you think on the Nick Pivetta signing?
Yeah, my guy, Nicky P, huh? He's a dog. I played with him couple years with the Red Sox. See him when we traded for him from the Phillies. He was in the minors, and he got an opportunity with us in the big leagues. He did a really good job. He gives you a lot of innings. That's a guy that throws a lot of pitches for the most part. He's always healthy. Hopefully that stays that way. But he just gives you a lot of innings, and gets you pretty deep in the bullpen. And hopefully he can continue having that success here.
There was some consternation in the offseason from Padres fans about the team not making these big splashy moves they were used to. How much do you, Manny, Fernando, put on yourselves to really produce the way the team expects you guys to?
I think we come in every year with the same thought, the same mindset. Us as players. I think everyone. If it's an all-star player, if it's a bench player, anything. I feel like you can contribute in the best way that you can. You probably go out there and do that to the best of your abilities. But I think us, guys like me, we always have that high expectation for ourselves. We just try to go out there and do the best that we can to our abilities, and hopefully that's enough.
You went through a lot last year. How confident do you feel health-wise? I know Manny, Fernando both saying they feel as healthy as they have in a long time. How do you feel? How much does it help your confidence that you can be that player?
I feel healthy. I think coming in the spring last year also I was pretty much healthy. Learning that new position was just a little bit different for me, and as I said, I thought it would have been much easier, but I think learning it was easy, but the physical aspect of it, the recovery of my body, just doing the different movements, I think that's what got the best of me last year in spring and lingered throughout the season for a little bit. Just different spots getting hurt that you don't normally have while dealing at short.
That was Xander Bogaerts earlier this week in Peoria. So let's make a sharp turn here from the All-Star, the 30-something-year-old on a $200+ million deal, to an 18-year-old. How about Ethan Salas? In the Padres clubhouse in Major League Spring Training for another year. Ethan Salas and Levitt DeVries both in Major League Spring Training. And we won't hear from Levitt tonight, but I will say he spoke with the media earlier this week. Incredibly well-spoken. Thought he did a great job. And the Padres have made it very clear with DeVries, who's also 18, that they want him to just go out there and play baseball. His first Major League Spring Training, unlike Salas, who has now been around a couple of years. They want DeVries to go out, play baseball, show what he can do, not think too much, and just have some fun. That's how it sounds to me, what they want Levitt DeVries to do, and it makes a lot of sense considering DeVries played at Lake Elsinore last year. First minor league season, now getting ready for his second minor league season. Now, Ethan Salas has been around a bit longer than that. Remember, Salas played a full minor league season, or not a full season, but about a little bit more than a half season in the minors in 2023. 2024, there's no way around it. It was a tough year for Ethan Salas. Now, I say all that with the caveat, he's 18. 18 years old, playing a demanding, tough position in being an everyday catcher. But offensively, it was hard. High A, he hit 206, only 4 home runs, 53 RBIs in 111 games. Did hit 4 home runs, 21 RBIs, 6 doubles in the Arizona Fall League. That was very good to see in 92 at-bats. But again, he is 18 years old. He doesn't turn 19 until early June. Still, one of the top prospects in all of baseball. Ethan Salas inside the Padres clubhouse. I told you a little bit earlier about him catching Matt Waldron's knuckleball. Did a great job with that. He looks bigger to me, and he's looked bigger every year we see him at spring training. Makes sense. He's growing. He's a teenager. Looks bigger. And certainly a lot to be excited about with Ethan Salas. Here was Ethan inside the Padres clubhouse. Earlier this week, he was asked if it's beginning to feel more normal to be at spring training inside that clubhouse with superstars like Manny Machado and Xander Bogaerts and Fernando Tatis Jr. List goes on. If the front office has told him anything about possibly winning a job this spring training, his relationship with fellow 18-year-old Leo DeVries, and what it was like catching Matt Waldron's knuckleball in his bullpen session the other day.
Ethan, how different does the spring training feel, and is it becoming more and more routine being in the room with all these guys?
Definitely. I would say so. I would definitely say so. Just now I'm like, last year I was getting comfortable with the guys, I think, a lot. This year, a lot more comfortable with a lot of the guys, a lot of the pitching staff. Obviously, there's new faces every year, but just trying to be the best teammate I can to guys in this room that are ultimately going to be my teammates one day. Yeah.
What's the front office kind of telling you? Because obviously they need a catcher this year.
No, nothing. Just go out and play ball. Obviously, being in spring training, it's always try to win a job, whether that be here or wherever in the system. That's pretty much it on that.
Can you tell me about your relationship with Leo? You mentioned you guys are pretty close, and what's that like?
Yeah, no, Leo's my boy. This is his first big league camp. just trying to help him out as much as possible. If he has any questions, I always got his back, and just how to be around guys in this clubhouse, how to act and stuff. So,
what part of your game are you hoping improves the most throughout the next couple of weeks?
Yeah, no, definitely. A lot of things. I feel really good on the hitting side right now. I feel really comfortable with the bat in my hands, especially behind the plate as well. Just with some guys, older guys we signed, Maldonado, and a lot of veterans in the clubhouse, just trying to pick their minds and just how does that guy stay in the big leagues for 13 years, just like managing a pitching staff and just being the player he is. So just trying to pick his mind and how he thinks about things a lot of people don't really pay attention to.
What was the biggest challenge for you last year going through minor league ball?
Definitely the just dealing with adversity for the first time. Really never experienced it. Just really didn't know where to go from there. But I thought it was a big learning curve, and really it's gonna benefit my career.
You caught a knuckleball yet?
Yeah. Waldron, I caught Waldron's bullpen the other day. It was really good.
How different is it?
It's different for sure. You got to be ready for it. But yeah, it's not really framing at that point. It's just like catch the ball and don't get hit. Yeah.
Did you always smile and kind of? Is it one of those things where you're just kind of like, this is going to be an adventure? I was going to enjoy the ride.
Yeah. He told me for his pen, I'm going to try to make you miss as many as possible today. And I only missed one, so it's cool.
That's impressive.
Yeah, it was good.
That was Ethan Salas, the 18-year-old, and I thought great answers from Ethan. I thought the answer about dealing with adversity for the first time was excellent. And again, you look at those numbers at High A Fort Wayne last year. I'll be the first to say I don't really care about his struggles at 18. I don't. Playing catcher, demanding position, learning how to do all this at such a young age, playing against guys that are way older than him for the most part. Look, I think you can make the argument, and I do wonder, and I haven't asked anybody in Padres players development about this, but I do wonder if somebody in player development would say, hey, we want him to go through some struggles in a way at the minor league level. You want him to learn how to deal with that, because those struggles in the major leagues, no matter how good you are, they will come. So you got to learn how to deal with adversity, deal with slumps. Hopefully Ethan Salas, and it certainly sounds like he did learn a lot of lessons last year from some of those struggles. Let's hear a little bit more from Ethan, because he was great inside the clubhouse. Salas was asked if he feels any pressure being one of the Padres' top prospects, how much he's learned in his time with the club, and how he feels physically holding up behind the plate, a really challenging position.
So many people have heard your name at the top of the prospect list for this organization over and over and over again. Does that add any pressure to you, and what do you think about being at the top of that prospect list for the Padres?
Yeah, no, for sure. It's an honor. It's a lot of hard work, a lot of dedication, but still got to go out and play baseball, just enjoy the game every day, and ultimately win games.
How much have you learned and adapted in just your short time already with this organization?
I think I've learned a lot. I think I've adapted to a lot of the people around here, a lot of the characters and the different people around here. No, I think I've fit in really well, and just trying to help as much people as I can and learn as much while I'm in this camp.
Your last month of the season and the Arizona Fall League, the bat seemed to come around. What'd you kind of figure out last year midseason?
Went to San Diego, had a little bit of swing changes, ultimately just in a better headspace, more confident with myself, and just went out and just played, just hit. It was fun, yeah.
But your defense never suffered. As a catcher, you know you have to help the pitching staff out. How tough can that be when things aren't going well at the plate to still be locked in behind it?
Yeah, it's definitely hard putting others before yourself sometimes, but that's our job. That's our job as catchers. It's always catch first. It's always help your pitching staff before yourself, and definitely I learned a lot. I learned a lot through that process. It wasn't easy, but it's for the better. It was good learning curve for me.
Physically, how you handling being behind the plate for a whole 120 plus games now for a couple years as a pro?
Yeah, no, I feel good. I feel healthy. I'm still really young, so just take care of the body and go out and play ball.
Do you, we all look at you like this kid's 18. How the hell is he doing this? How do you view yourself as being as young as you are in the position you are?
I just treat myself with respect. I treat myself like a man. Just go out and play ball and have the backs of all my teammates. I think that would gain their trust, help them gain my trust as well.
Where does that maturity level come from at 18 years old?
I don't know. I've always been surrounded by an older crowd, for sure. But I don't know. Just trying to be professional and trying to go out and win games. That's pretty much it.
Good stuff from the 18-year-old Ethan Salas. Very much looking forward to what Ethan does this season. And I'll tell you what, two things about Salas before we go to break. Number one, if he sounds like he's not 18, that's because he carries himself like he's far older than 18. It's been that way since he was 16, roaming around the Padres complex. It's amazing. He's only 18 still, and it feels like now he's been around a while. And I'll say this. I watched him take BP yesterday on one of the backfields. It's got a sweet swing. Really does. I know the numbers were not great at Fort Wayne, but that swing, you watch him enough, and you see the future. And you see what the Padres see with Ethan Salas, and certainly hope Ethan has a wonderful 2025 campaign wherever he's playing this upcoming season. When we come back, we'll hear from Manny Machado. We'll hear from Jackson Merrill. If we can squeeze it in here a little bit from Ron Marinaccio as well. Final segment coming up inside San Diego baseball on a Wednesday night until 9 p.m. right here on 97.3 The Fan. Back here on 97.3, The Fan, inside San Diego baseball on this Wednesday night, live from Arizona, the Airbnb in Glendale, Arizona, about 15 minutes away from Peoria, the Peoria Sports Complex, where the Padres will play their Cactus League opener on Friday against the Seattle Mariners. We will have it right here for you on 97.3 The Fan. Jesse and Tony make their 2025 debut on Friday, noon on Friday, so I hope you can join us then. Plenty of coverage coming up from spring training, as always, tomorrow, both here on 97.3 The Fan and on all the Padres, the 97.3 The Fan social media channels. I'll give you a little preview. I'll be on with Ben and Woods tomorrow morning from Peoria at 9 a.m. I think I'm going to be on Annie and Elston at some point tomorrow as well. So if you don't like my voice and you've had enough of me, well, too bad for you. You get more of me tomorrow, and we'll be back with another edition from Arizona of Inside San Diego Baseball a week from tonight, next Wednesday. All right, let's dive into some of this audio so we get to everything we want to get to before we got to go here at 9 p.m. Manny Machado, let's hear from him. Padres third baseman, superstar Manny Machado. Here was Manny earlier this week, his level of excitement for this season, how the offseason went. He was fully healthy, not coming off that elbow surgery like he was a year ago, and what last year was really like coming back from that elbow injury.
What is your level of excitement for this particular team and this particular season, considering what you did a year ago?
Yeah, ready to get back to the grind and get back out there and get back to Petco. So hopefully have a healthy spring training and get ready for opening day.
Personally for you, how was your off season, considering you weren't coming off elbow surgery, fully healthy? Was it nice to get back into sort of a normal off season routine?
Yeah, it was great, man. It was awesome to kind of just have my regular off-season routine, get ready, get strong, and prepare for a long season. I wasn't able to do that last year, so it was a fresh start.
Time to reflect. How was last season with the elbow and coming back from the surgery and building up and playing your way into, it's not full health, but into health? How did that all go?
Yeah, it was great. Obviously, we all did our part as a team, as a group. They all kept me healthy in there and able to go out there and perform and be the best I possibly can. And it was a fun year, man. I learned a lot from last season. Dealing with injuries and dealing with not being 100%. But at the end of the day, that group in there did a really good job and getting me as ready as I possibly can to go out there and perform every single night at the highest level I could possibly do. And as a group, we did a phenomenal job getting to where we got to last year.
Was there a point you were at 100% last year?
No.
Okay.
No.
When were you at 100%? December?
Today. And then it's back to not being at 100.
But you did start at 100 when you walked into the Peoria Sports Complex.
Today? Yes.
All right.
Yeah, absolutely.
How does that feel? Cause it's been a while.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, it's different, definitely. It feels good. It feels good. I had a really good off season. Obviously, there's going to be bumps and bruises along the way, and I think that's just the beauty of baseball. We all enjoy it, and I wouldn't change anything in the world for it.
That was Manny Machado earlier this week in Peoria. A lot of good stuff there for Manny. Good perspective on his offseason being 100% healthy. To give you some context there, Manny always says, as the season goes along, that you're never 100% healthy once the year gets going. But you heard him there when he walked into the Peoria Sports Complex on day one. He was 100%. So Manny getting ready for the season. Good to hear from Manny. Jackson Merrill, we have not heard from him on the program here tonight. Jackson, of course, coming off a tremendous and an electrifying rookie season. 24 home runs, 90 RBIs, hitting .292, playing center field, a brand new position, learning it during spring training, playing a solid center field. You probably think in San Diego he should have been Rookie of the Year. He was the runner-up, and now at 21 years old, Jackson Merrill getting ready for his second major league season, and my goodness, what might Jackson do in year number 2? Here was Jackson Merrill earlier this week on how he builds on his very successful rookie season, if he cares about the team's lack of big, splashy moves this offseason, and the veterans the team recently added, like Jason Hayward. Here was Jackson.
Obviously such a successful rookie year. How do you build on what you did last season?
You just play hard. You keep playing hard, try to win a World Series. That's the main goal every year. Screw the stats. That's why I always say, screw the stats. So I'm here to win games.
I think I know the answer I'm going to get here, but I'm going to ask it anyways. All the offseason talk was about what the Padres didn't do, what other teams did do. Do you guys hear that noise, and do you care?
No,
No, we don't care. Whoever we got in the locker room, we're ready to go with, ready to go to war with. If you're on our team, you're a brother, you know. So whoever we sign, it doesn't matter to me. We don't need anybody on $100 million contracts to win games, you know. So let's do it.
What's it mean to have a veteran like Jason Hayward joining the outfield, maybe a Connor Joe out there, stuff like that, just to have these guys around you out there?
Yeah, I mean, it's awesome. So Jay Hay being a former MVP, obviously Connor, the homegrown kid, so it's pretty fun. You know, we got a mix of personalities, and, you know, I'm excited to get to know everybody.
Obviously, this time last year, everything was new, but in particular, learning center field was new. How is that different this time around, now having a full year under your belt out there?
I'm still here to make a team, you know. It doesn't matter how many years you have under your belt, you still got to make the team. So I'm treating it the same way. Put my head down, going to work, and trying to beat everybody for a spot, you know. Obviously, there's my teammates in here, but I want to be the center fielder on opening day.
Defensively, is there anything you're trying to work on in particular this spring after having that year under your belt in center?
Just run and catch it, you know. That's all I'm trying to do. So I want to get to more balls, probably see if I can get a little more wall balls, you know, balls that are closer to the wall, homers, trying to take some more away. But other than that, no, I'm ready to just go play the same game. And I felt like I did okay, and I can obviously get better. You can get better in everything every year. So I'm just excited to work.
Are you one of those guys that uses what happened at the end of last year as fuel, or are you flush it and start over kind of guy?
Oh, yeah, last year was last year, and obviously it fuels us, and you never want to feel that feeling again, but at the same time, it's over with, it's done with. We got a year to look forward to, so, you know, we're locked in on that. We're locked in on 2025 now.
That was 21-year-old Jackson Merrill as he gets ready for his second major league season. Always great stuff from Jackson Merrill, and I love what he said. You know, see the ball, catch the ball. You just feel like Jackson kept things so simple last year. And, hey, when he talks to us, sounds exactly the same. He gives you some great one-liners, some lines that'll get you fired up if you're a Padres fan. Always a pleasure catching up with Jackson Merrill, and very exciting to think about what he may do in year number 2. All right, we've heard from a lot of people here tonight. We've heard from Manny. We've heard from Jackson. We've heard from Mike Shildt. We've heard from Michael King, Ethan Salas, Xander Bogaerts, Jake Cronenworth, Luis Arraez. All those names you know, but one name you might not know a whole lot about is a right-hander by the name of Ron Marinaccio. Now, Ron Marinaccio came up with the New York Yankees. I'll get to his numbers with the Yankees in just a little bit. The White Sox claimed Marinaccio off waivers in September of 2024. Never actually made an appearance with the White Sox late in 24. Then the White Sox traded Marinaccio to the Padres for cash in late January, so not all that long ago, and now Marinaccio is in the Padres clubhouse competing for a bullpen spot through a live BP after Yu Darvish at the stadium in Peoria today. I thought looked pretty good. But the interesting thing to me about Ron Marinaccio is this. His numbers in the major leagues over the course of parts of 3 seasons, pretty good. 3.86 ERA in 16 appearances last year. If you look at what he did in AAA, very, very good. 3.99 ERA in 45 appearances in 2023, so a little bit higher, but hey, not terrible. Hovered around 4. A 2.05 ERA in 40 appearances in 2022. I mean, those are some good numbers for Ron Marinaccio, who is still a young guy, 29 years old, 19th round pick out of the University of Delaware by the Yankees in 2017. East Coast guy, grew up in Toms River, New Jersey, and now is a member of the Padres. And I think a very strong candidate for one of those final bullpen spots, or as we alluded to earlier, perhaps the final bullpen spot that guys are going to compete for. I caught up with Ron Marinaccio earlier this week in Peoria. Let's learn a little bit more about Ron.
Sam Levitt here, and right now I'm joined by new Padres reliever Ron Marinaccio. And Ron, good to have you here in Peoria as you get ready for your first season with the Padres. Obviously, new organization. First time you're getting ready to pitch for a team outside the New York Yankees organization. What's that process been like, making that transition?
It's been exciting. There's a good amount of familiar faces for me actually coming over from the Yankees and just other orgs that I've played against. So it's just been a smooth transition. The coaching staff's been awesome. Clubhouse has been amazing, welcoming me in, and it feels like any other spring training, just gearing up to get ready to go win a World Series.
You mentioned those familiar faces. Michael King, I imagine, would be one of those, former bullpen mate with the Yankees. What's your relationship like with Michael King?
Michael's been one of my better friends in baseball so far. We went to each other's weddings within 2 weeks of each other. 23, right before he got traded over here. He was the first person I called when I had found out that they had put in a trade waiver for me. So it's awesome, and I mean, to see where he's gone from coming with the Yankees, it's incredible, and I'm extremely happy for him.
Obviously, he had a terrific season last year, first year as a full-time starting pitcher. What was that like for you to watch him have that kind of success, and now is it kind of cool to be his teammate?
It's amazing to be his teammate again. He's one of the better guys to talk to and learn from, just about pitching really, how to attack hitters, how to make the ball move a different way. He does it all pretty well. And it's not shocking at all to see him as a starter. The way that he prepared in the bullpen was like he was a starting pitcher. He's got notes on everybody. He knows how he wants to start them off. He knows how he wants to finish them off. And that's not generally how most relievers go after it. It's more so like, let me throw my best couple pitches here, get through 3 outs. But he was always prepared to go through a lineup full time, and he's got the stuff to do it, and he showed that last year. He could do it multiple times. So, like I said, it's been awesome to watch him grow, and I'm excited to see where he goes from that this year.
That was Ron Marinaccio. Let's learn a little bit more about Ron. Here was Marinaccio, who, again, the Padres traded for this past offseason. I talked to him about his success, both at the major league level and AAA last year, with the Yankees organization, and this really nice opportunity he has in San Diego.
Ron, you look at your numbers, whether it was at the major league level or AAA last year, really good numbers all the way across the board. What do you feel like your key to success was a year ago?
Just really getting my legs back under me, I think. Got a little beat up in the middle of that 22 towards the end of that season. Didn't necessarily have a full off season those years, so now I've had 2 full off seasons back under my legs. First one being last year, back on good track last year, and another good off season this off season. So I'm excited, feeling good and fresh in camp, and just ready to see what happens.
How do you view the opportunity in this camp? Because this was a bullpen that at the end of the year last season was really good, had a lot of big names. It's a deep group of talented relievers. How do you view the opportunity you have here?
It's the opportunity to just come help a winning team. I think, as I would imagine, like any winning clubhouse is going to be pretty loaded on the pitching side, especially in the beginning of the season, gearing up for a long season. So I'm excited for any opportunity that may come my way, and look to help the Padres win some games.
That was Ron Marinaccio, one of the new names inside that Padres Major League clubhouse in Peoria, and we'll see how Ron does as far as the competition for perhaps the final bullpen spot on the Padres 26-man roster on opening day. So really glad we could get to so much audio in the 2 hours. I mean, my goodness, we heard from Arraez, Shildt, Cronenworth, Bogaerts, Salas, Manny, Merrill, King, and finally Ron Marinaccio. A big thank you to all those guys who have provided their time throughout the first week or so of spring training. We will be back on the air a week from tonight from Peoria. I assume I'll be back in the Airbnb here in Glendale with a new edition of Inside San Diego Baseball. And I'll tell you that our upcoming shows until opening day, and by the way, I saw a YouTube comment earlier, there will be no more Inside San Diego Baseball live show on Wednesday nights once we hit the regular season. So enjoy it while you can during spring training. But obviously we're going to have games on Wednesday nights. So no Inside San Diego Baseball on Wednesday nights when we hit the regular season. Maybe we'll return for next off season, but time to buckle down for the season when things get underway. But we are going to have a show every Wednesday night throughout spring training. And I would imagine they'll be kind of like this, where we hear from a lot of different players. We touch on a number of different Padres-related, roster-related topics mixed in with what we hear from these different players. So hope you enjoyed it. I'll tell you this, I'm working hard, hustling around the complex, getting these interviews, getting all the videos you see on social media. If you are not following 97.3 The Fan or myself on social media, I highly encourage you to do so. I really mean this. I don't know that you're going to find better wall-to-wall content from spring training as far as video, as far as interviews, as far as what you hear on the radio on 97.3 The Fan every day. You'll see the superstars, but earlier today I posted Kavaris Tears, who was a draft pick for the Padres last year. So you see a little bit of everything. Follow us at 97.3 The Fan SD on Twitter, 97.3 The Fan on Instagram. You can follow me on Twitter, on Instagram at Sammy Lev, SammyLev. Much more coverage to come tomorrow from Peoria, Arizona. That'll do it on this Wednesday night for Inside San Diego Baseball. We will talk to you a week from tonight from Arizona. Ben and Woods on the air 6 a.m. tomorrow. I'll join them at 9 a.m. Until then, until next Wednesday, for our producer, Frank Marchese, I'm Sam Levitt saying so long and good night. You're listening to San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan. Have a great night, everybody.